Are you ready to discover who you came here to be? Welcome to the Human Design and Astro Club podcast. Human Design is a system and a tool that is here to empower you and show you your greatest potential. Come learn with us and discover who you really are. Hi friends, Krystle here. I am popping into this episode to give you a brief rundown on some exciting opportunities. Leah and I love coming on here week after week to provide for you value on the transits, education, and empowering interviews to help you align to your uniqueness. Before we dive into this next episode, I wanted to share with you many different opportunities to connect and work with us outside of the podcast. The first offer is actually completely free. Yep, you heard that right. We have a completely free guide to help you align to your authority. If you have been having a challenging time to understand how your unique authority works, we've got you covered because we have developed a guide on tips and tricks to honoring your strategy and authority. And you can pick up that free guide down below in our show notes. Now, the next opportunity is also free, so listen up. We know with the state of the world right now how deeply our children are being affected by the 2027 mutation that we are moving towards. So we have decided to put out a free live Zoom class for you to learn how to nurture your child through their design. This also goes for your inner child. So if you don't have a kid, you can still come. We'll be announcing the date soon, so definitely get on our wait list down below in our show notes. And we might have a special opportunity on our next class that we'll be announcing live during our kids class, so definitely join us for this unique opportunity. Next offer is a manual. We have developed a language manual on the concepts for human design. If you've been struggling with how to read your own chart or you don't understand the key terms in human design, we've got you covered. Go ahead right now and pick up your copy to your user manual to your true self down below. Next offer was just recently released to the public, so you are definitely not late. Leah and I have put together every single one of our variables classes and a bonus support group with a community page to connect on and 2 Zoom calls a month with topics related to human design, astrology, and tarot. This is a 6-month subscription service for only $39.99 a month, which is a steal if you ask me compared to buying all the classes a la carte. Come join us in the doorway and connect with us today and subscribe down below in our show notes. If you would like to just connect with us through our support group and be a part of those 2 Zoom calls a month and also our community page, we do have a separate tier for that as well, and you can subscribe to our support group down below. Now, speaking of a la carte, we do have mini classes on the 4 transformations, which you can pick up either the individual class or a bundle for determination, cognition, and also our environments class. View and motivation are an exclusive to the doorway only, and you get every single one of the colors and tones if you sign up for the doorway. But if you just want to get your feet wet, definitely pick up an a la carte class down below in the show notes. Now, if you're a transit junkie and you've been loving our program episodes and you're interested in knowing what's going on for this year, you will most definitely want to get our 2022 energy forecast that includes all of the major cosmic events and all the major cosmic players of this year through the lens of human design, astrology, and tarot, and you can pick that up down below. Now, last but not least is an opportunity to connect with us one-on-one if you would like a reading. I have had the opportunity to help so many of you have breakthroughs on your design with my Desire, Motivation, and Power View. I really can show each and every one of you where your power is in your design and how to use it in this material world. Go ahead and check out my offers through my website down below in the show notes. And if you would like a tarot reading, definitely check out Leah's website down below as well. And I would like to thank each and every one of you for the love and support for this podcast and also us as individuals. I will stop open throating right now and go ahead and let you check out this next transformative episode. I'll see you over there, friends, and thank you for being here. Welcome to the Human Design and Astro Club podcast. I'm Krystle.
And I'm Leah.
And this is the podcast you've been waiting for. And also the episode you've been waiting for, because we are going to get into it tonight. We've been putting together tons of charts today on the history of women. We tried to pick the most important dates and look up the themes of what was going on for that day, what the quantum chart looked like, what was happening in the transits, how do they connect to all of each other. Leah and I both have the 4426. And so we're really good at seeing patterns and also history. The 44 holds history in the spleen. And I'm really good at also spotting patterns through my 515 channel as well. So I think this is going to be an interesting episode. If you're interested in women's rights, traveling through history, through the transits, and looking at all the charts that were created for that day, stick around. This is going to be a really good episode. So before we start looking at charts, and I'm going to do my best. We're going to do our best to speak to from a basic level so that this can make sense to people that don't fully understand human design. So don't feel like you have to know everything about human design. We're going to try to explain it in a very digestible way, as we usually do. So I wanted to look up potentially, because it's probably not correct, but I just thought it was fun. I wanted to look up Abigail. Oh my God, I already butchered her name. Abigail Adams. Let's try to say that really fast. Abigail Adams. You cannot do that. You cannot do that. Anyways, I wanted to look up Abigail Adams' chart and to kind of see. I feel like she was a really big trendsetter for women. She was kind of ahead of her time. Unfortunately, she was a seven-centered being. So this might not be accurate, but I really wanted to see what was going on in her mind, because seven-centered beings were strategic. And the main purpose of this episode is going to be looking at history, but specifically why we got to Roe versus Wade being overturned in the first place. And I think I can only think at this point. You guys will let us know and see if we did it. But I think that starting from the beginning and going through some of these big dates, I think it's going to really paint a picture as to why we got here. So Abigail Adams was a seven-centered being because she was born in she was born in the early 1700s.
Early, yeah.
So there's no way to fully tell her chart because she was seven-centered. And if I try to pull it up through any of these systems, they're all nine-centered. So I don't know how accurate it's going to be, but I did see that she had written to her husband, or told him, I don't know how they got this quote, so I feel like it has to be in writing somewhere, about women. And so I wanted to read to you guys what she said, and then I want to tell you what I did find in her potential chart that's probably incorrect. I just really want to keep prefacing that. But it's still interesting, so we're going to share it. She said, "Remember the ladies," and then goes on to say something a little creepy that foreshadows today, saying that if you do not pay attention to the ladies, and said, "We are determined to foment a rebellion and will not hold ourselves bound by any laws in which we have no voice or representation."
Abigail.
That's why I had to share it, because it really sets the tone.
Yeah. Considering this is, when did When did we see? Is in the late 1700s is when she said that. So
It was like 1776 when she said it, but she was born early.
yeah.
I don't know how old she was when she died. Probably should have looked that up. But yeah, so she said this well before we were even nine centered.
Mm-hmm.
So I find that fascinating. So when I look up her supposed chart, she potentially had all of the head channels activated in connecting to the mind. And seven centered beings were really strategic. So I wonder, I'm like, I guess I'd have to go look up a bunch of other seven centered beings charts. And it would be fantastic if they just all had them all activated and that was just a thing. Cause that's what I want it to be. I want them to be all activated. Cause I was like, wow. I was like, I bet you she has to have a defined ajna, right? Because that would have been her authority. Right. And so she did, all connecting to the head centers. And I said, I bet you if she did have a chart that was correct, and maybe some of this might be, I don't know, that she would also have gate 57. And she did, because gate 57 is all about the future. And she also had the 43. So she had these unique insights, but she was speaking before her time.
Yeah. And in a time where women didn't have a voice at all, it was way before when we were starting to even think about it.
Yeah, but she had the foresight,
Yeah.
right, with that 57. So I thought that that was kind of fascinating. So I just wanted to touch on that. We're not staying there. We've got a lot to cover, guys. So
Yep.
strap in, get a beverage. Oh, I forgot mine.
I just have water. So
I have nothing. It's fine. My mouth is going to be
you're just going to be parched by the end.
end of this. But it's fine. So let's move on. We pulled up the date for the Women's Rights Convention, the first one. And so let's start there because I thought this was interesting because this was in 1916. So the quantum chart, if you pull up the chart for like as if it was its own design, okay, it would be an emotional generator potentially. And what's interesting about this chart, and we're going to see the theme of the 360 and also the 60 running through a lot of these other charts. You'll also be noticing there's a lot of activation in the root for a lot of these charts.
Mm-hmm.
And so the 360 is all about being able to see limitation and move through it. And it's the 3 is all about difficulty at the beginning. This is the fucking beginning, right? So it's setting up, it's foreshadowing what women are about to have to overcome, right? It's showing us our limitations. There's also an activation that's connected to authority and also to spot almost being able, it's almost like the fear to see what needs to be tweaked and what needs to be worked. Gate 15, as you're going to see, I want to specifically call out this gate because you're going to notice it when we talk about bro. So gate 15, where was that? That was in Pluto. So, and Pluto is also about overcoming obstacles. It's about facing your shadow, right? And gate 15 is a love gate in the G center, connected to our identity, connected to our direction, right? Really holding the soul, right? And this is about love of humanity. So at the very beginning, we're seeing this gate showing us that it's really going to take almost like the connection between each one of us realizing that we're all fucking human. We're all the same. I feel like you want to say something, Leah. I see you nodding.
No, I'm just agreeing with you. Yeah.
Um, and on this day, hold on, let me pull it up. Hold on. I want to say the right thing. Um, on this day, we had the sun transiting the gate of duration, which is the gate of continuity, and it's about enduring change. That was in the sun. And there's a lot of change and transformation and limitation that you're going to see running through the themes of a lot of this. And then we had the gate of increase or the gate of growth that was in the earth. So almost pressuring us, reaching for pressure in this place, in this sense, pressuring us to maximize our fullest potential. So that's really interesting that we have this like fear of that we need change, right? And this was about opening the first. Did we already talk about what this was? The first birth control clinic that they opened?
No, I thought you were talking about the Women's Right Convention.
Where did I go?
I don't know.
Oh,
It's all the right information though. Because
that's
it's still,
weird because it's the same thing for the birth control.
is it really? Wow, that's cool though.
Sorry, let me back this up. That was not in the sun. So what was in the sun during the first women's convention was gate 56.
Yeah.
And gate 56 was I believe. I believe that women have a right. I believe that women are equal. This is about the gate of stimulation. It's almost like, how do I say this?
It's kind of like a kickstart, like
It's like a metamorphosis. It's like a
yeah,
vision, though. It's a
yeah,
vision to speak the right language that's almost going to move us in the right direction. We also have the 4629 in the quantum self here. And the
mm-hmm.
4629 is all about being in the right place at the right time. We had the 2551 all about initiation and really universal love, universal connection. We had the 37, also about connection, right? Connection to community. We had the 3955, which is about that's the channel of emoting, and this is about provocation. We just experienced this week, the beginning of this week, end of last week. We had the 39 in transit, and so and then in the earth we had gate 60. So it's interesting. Both charts, the one that we're next talking about, that I am sorry that I spoke about it earlier, but it has a lot of the same shit. I said the 360 and the 60 are
Yeah,
going to take a major role in creating movement. And if you think about the root, because the root is, there's a lot of activity throughout a lot of the women's rights stuff, a lot of activity in the root. And the root is all about this like buildup of like ancestral trauma, starting from the beginning of where this country was founded on, right? And also just globally too, like what women had to endure for centuries. I was reading earlier because I was like, let's take it back real far. I was like, how far can we go? So in the BC area, I think 2000 BC and before, we were in potentially, obviously we don't know because there's not a lot of information during that time, but potentially that was a more of a matriarchal system, which Ra does speak about in a bunch of his lectures. And when he talks about the progression of humanity, he does talk about that, like basically the beginning of time, it was really more about the woman, and the woman was in charge. She was the ruler. She was the leader. She was seen as like this, like almost like embraced and loved for the fact that she was fertile.
And now it's kind of the opposite because now we're in a patriarchy. So the pendulum was at one point on the right side, more receptive, more feminine, which is where we're swinging. Right now, we are swinging from left to right because after periods of times, we have to go back to the other side of the binary, right? So that's why, huge reason why right now what's happening with us is because the pendulum is swinging from left to right, we're really experiencing the friction and the pressure of the past meeting the future, meaning the patriarchal system is going to try to hold on right now for dear life because they know their power is about to be taken away. So it's all very fascinating. And we'll go more into depth of the history of humanity when we do our 2027 class. So if you would like to come to that class, I know a lot of you have been asking for this 2027 class. And so we're going to put it out either end of summer, beginning of fall. So look out for that. Definitely subscribe to our email if you're interested in that. I need to make a quick, that seemed like a good spot to plug ourselves. Because if you're interested in what we've been saying, you've been coming to these podcasts, you've been listening to us, you follow us on Instagram, this is just a taste. I want you guys to know this is not everything. This is just a taste. We've got more. Okay, we're Defined Hearts. We've got more. So anyways, back to women's history and their rights. So it's very fascinating. So at the very beginning, we have the 360 really showing us our women's limitations, right? And saying that it's going to be hard at the beginning. There's going to be a pressure, and that pressure I feel like has really stayed like pretty strong. And it's like now we have the 60 in transit currently right now. So that's fascinating. Now we have to like face it. We have to look at the roadblock. We have to see, and the big roadblock right now is power, this power struggle. And it's about time that we all fucking realize that we're the same. We have this illusion of separateness that's coming from the magnetic monopole that sits in the G center, right? And it's saying that you are separate from the other. But really, if you've been listening to us for a while and you've been hearing me talk, I was and also an employee of the Kabbalah Center, and I don't know how many times into my fucking head from either classes I took or classes I had to organize. But according to there is one source energy, which Ross talks about, that there was one crystal that shattered, and it's the same concept that speaks about, where the source energy shattered into like billions of pieces. And those pieces, we are just fragments, fractals. Okay, that's why we talk fractals with human design, and also other systems and concepts talk as well. Quantum talks about fractals. But when you see it, it's saying we are all just pieces of one source energy. We're all just pieces of the light coming into this human form. There had to be complexity, right? We couldn't come here and live in euphoria, right? We couldn't come here and be like, we're all in this together. No one's fucking doing it. No one's saying fucking kumbaya, okay? Like a few short people that actually were here, but the majority are not singing kumbaya. So it's just really fascinating that all of this is here. And we out of the 28, the 38, and the 28, which is the channel of struggle, really pressuring us to figure out what is worth for. And that's also been coming out of transit. We've had some of that action as well. So it's not a coincidence that it's like we're forced to look at the darkness, especially now that the row getting overturned during our Pluto return. Not a fucking coincidence. So, and we have our final hit happening on July 11th, by the way. I'm going to plug our other thing real quick. While we did create a yearly forecast for 2022. Creepy on multiple levels.
Yeah. Like looking back at the first half of the year.
Yeah. So if you want to, that's why what's beautiful is right now we're taking a look back, right? We're taking a look back in history. So if you want to take a look back on what 2022 first started as and the energy, because we go over the major players of 2020, all the major dates. We talk about the eclipses. We talk about all of the grades. We talk about the Pluto return, a lot of big things. Okay. And we give them in a very digestible form. Use them in your practical life. You can also see them happening in the collective. That's a beautiful part, right? And you can see what's happening for the rest of the year because October, I'm going to tell you guys, October is the month. Things are happening.
Very interesting.
So very interesting. So if you want to see what's happening then, definitely take a look. Definitely learn about Pluto return and a lot of other big things. The eclipses also were kind of a big deal. We have a couple more coming. So yeah, if you want to, you can in the description in the show notes down below. If you'd like to pick up that class, it's $22. Totally worth it. So let's keep going. So let's go to the first opened birth control clinic, which was what year was that in? That was in 1916. And so that also had the 3 in transit. And as I said, it had 2 and the 42. 32 was in this, which I had said is about an enduring change in that foreshadowing what birth control was going to be. Right? And that was in, so there was like this intuitive knowing this is the direction we were going to be heading. And then the 42, like I said, Earth, and that's all about growth and about almost like mistakes turning into advantages, which this supposedly this clinic got rated a lot and then down. I it's only there because I mean, think about 1916 that they were not looking for that. They also had a 360 and the 3955, the channel of emoting. So there's a lot of provoking, and the gate switch is all about friction. So you can kind of see the foreshadowing here. Also gave 15 in transit here. 13 that was holding the stories that were told. And I believe women are still telling those stories today. So interesting chart. So then we have the first woman that was elected into Congress in 1917. And that chart, pure general. And we have the 731 in transit, which I love because the 731 is leadership and saying, giving us, and the 7 is all about the direction gate. Really telling us that we're going in the direction of women being equal. This still wasn't, it's interesting that before women could even vote. We also had 15 again going up. I told you, pay attention to the 15, and the 15 is transit for a bunch of these. And so, 6. And the 6, yeah, the 6 in transit for that one. You pay attention to all, and then we still have root pressure, right? We had the 4253 in transit, and we had the 21, which is all resources, right? Activating. There's an undefined heart in here. We have the 51 in transit, which is really about the desire to be first. We have the 48 in transit that in the earth, that's all about depth, right? And it is connecting 16 in design part. The 16 is about skills. So it's saying that women are okay. Women got the leadership, women got the skill. We understand what limitations we can break through. We like really pushing to like make an impact. I think this was really for the women of that were going to be in Congress, and we're going to end this talking about the first women vice president. So it's very interesting that the first woman that was in Congress here, and I'd be interested to compare those two charts too. Really saying that we can't do it, because there's always like people like to throw around like women shouldn't be in charge because they're fucking emotional.
Half of the world is emotional.
Yeah,
break
so
it to
let's
you.
scratch that out. So maybe we do what it takes. And the right angle cross was also the incarnation cross during that time, which that's really about waking people up.
Yeah.
That incarnation cross. So that's interesting. Do you have anything you'd like to add, Leah?
No, that it's all really interesting because there's all of that is still like building up in the chart, and we see these different events. It's really cool.
Yeah. So then we looked at when the women's right to vote was passed, because there's two dates. There was the when it was passed, and then it was when it was ratified. So in 1919, the law was passed, women's right to vote, and this was an emotional manifesting generator quantum chart. And we have the 35, which is in the and this is really, again, speaking to change, right? Speaking about someone's experiences, right? Going through the emotional experience, because the 3536, the quantum design, it also had the 3536 transit. And that's about the almost like feeling, wanting experience, and then the 35 want to speak about that experience. And the 5 really wanted to speak about the feeling of women to be able to vote, and what the almost like the story had to happen for us to be able to vote. The 25 was also in transit, speaking to you, loves, telling humanity really that we're all fucking connected. It's another love gate. So it's interesting, the love gates keep popping up in a lot of these too.
Yeah.
Not a coincidence, right? We had the 2034 into transit, really speaking power and using your voice and speaking your truth, right? And then we had the 5 in the earth, really setting the routine, the tone that this is it. Women are going to be able to supposedly have equal rights, right? And so there's a lot of momentum here. And also gate 59 was in the moon during that time. Actually, potentially, I'm not exactly sure. So let me not talk about that one. I'm not sure exactly the time. I don't want to, the moon moves so quickly. Not talk about the moon for these unless we know the exact time. So it was ratified. That happened in 1920, a year later. And so we had this was the chart of a pure manifesting generator. And so we had the 29 that was in the sun during that time. And that's the gate of commitment. Really speaking to like, this was like, because it was being ratified for the 19th Amendment, right? So this was like locking it in that like we are committing, I say this loosely, committing to women having equal rights. We didn't have that full circuitry there. So that's also interesting. Yeah. And then we had the 30 that was in the earth during time. And that's all about the pressure to feel. So like, I'm sure this was probably a very emotional moment for the women that fought themselves for really who knows how long before even we had a lot of these dates, women were fighting. I mean, to Abigail Adams in 1776 when she wrote, I don't know if she wrote a letter to her, to, what was it, John Adams, saying, like, foreshadowing where we were going with that, really saying that power to the men. That's what she was saying. Do not give the power to the men. But yet we're still in battle. We had gate 40 in transit, the gate of aloneness, and that was happening. Yes. So there's a lot of energy around direction. We had the 2 and the 1-8 in transit, and the 14-2, like, that's connected to the soul and like the soul that's driving the vehicle. So that's pretty interesting that was all in transit when women were able to vote. And then I don't know why. I'm just like, I really like this lady, and she really set the tone for starting the civil rights movement. And so I want to talk about sparks briefly. At her chart, we looked at the day that she refused to give up her seat on the bus. I'll remember that. And what was the song that was made?
Oh gosh, I don't know if I had.
That day. Oh my God, I just totally lost the word. So we're gonna stop. We're not gonna even, because it'll make a fool of myself. But whatever. Okay, so supposedly Rosa Parks was a pure manifesting generator. 14-2 and the 1-8 that we were just talking about for women's rights. So that's not a coincidence, right?
She had a really strongly defined G center too. She knew.
God, she was, so she was a sphinx, which is all about direction. That is all about leading the way, right? And she had gate 7 in her earth. She had gate 13 in her sun, gate 2 in her unconscious, and 1 in her unconscious. She was really leading for not only civil rights, but women.
Absolutely.
So that's why I thought it was important. She also did not take shit from authority. She saw what needed to be fucking corrected, right? Especially the day that she's like, you need to give up your seat for this white man, right? A white man, of course. And they think problems. Give up the seat for him. And she's like, excuse me, I'm fucking tired. Okay. You can go. And she also had 60. So.
And gate 15.
And gate 15. 25. Yep. So that's interesting. Just wanted to put that. So the day that she didn't want to give up her seat, we had gate 9, which is the gate of focus, and also the 52. Where is the 52? The 52 may or may not have been in transit, because that's showing that it's in the moon. So we're not going to fully count that one. But gate 9 was in transit. And also gate 16. And it's interesting because the 16, as we've talked about, is really about being good at, you have some sort of gift, the 16. And she was not getting any shit that day. She was able to speak up for herself. In the quantum chart, it shows the unconscious and the third in the unconscious earth.
Yeah, so that full community channel. I thought that was really interesting for that event, was that it was about community. It's about bringing her community with her, and more than that too. Like it just started so much.
Yeah, it would really set the tone for like the tribe, for almost like bringing people together to create this movement. It really kickstarted. So I thought that was interesting. And then let's go on because we got a few. I mean, there's a few we're going to stay on for a little bit long because it's more important for right now. The first approved birth control was in 1960. And that day there was an emotional generator. And we had the 2038, the channel of struggle. In transit, we had the 23 in the sun and the 43 in the earth, which I find very interesting, very foreshadowing the future. And what did I want to say? That the 56 was also in transit, the channel of mating. And like, I think that's interesting because that's where fertility lives, isn't that 59.6? Mm-hmm. And we were giving people the right. I at that time when it was first approved, I know that you had to have your husband sign off for this to approve to get the pill. Like, yeah, you couldn't just get the pill. You couldn't go to the doctor and say, I want birth control. Approved by your husband. It wasn't until the 80s, really not long ago, that a woman could have her own bank account.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
So, yeah, it's interesting that the channel of was in transit during that time because it's like saying, listen, and let's see. So the 59 in Pluto, really showing us again our darkness, what we really needed to take a look at. And it was on the unconscious and conscious side. And then the 6 was in the North Node on both sides. And it was movement. Almost like, I feel like it's like almost deciding if it wanted to bond or not, right? Because the 6 is do I. 59's like, I want to bond. So that's interesting that the 6 was in the North Node because it's almost like you the decision, telling you our future direction is going to be your fucking choice. This is where we put the explosions in for you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of crazy. Also, 10 was in transit. We have in the 25 and the 7. Again, the women are the born leaders, and this is the direction that we're in. Strap in, use your voice. We need to start really sharing our truth because they're not going to stop us this time. I feel like is coming, that they think this is it. We're going to reverse everything by all of the people that they deem as small voices, control, because that's all this is about, is control. They're going to be able to take our voices away, but we have too much access to out now than we did when Roe was put in this period from the beginning. So yeah. I think people are going to get about this, or it's going to like simmer down. I think it's just going to keep escalating. If you notice, there's continual root with all of the things that we're talking about. We keep seeing root pressure. Today with the first approved birth control, we have channel of struggle, and then we also have the channel of transformation. So, and is the channel, hold on, now I want to see, is this, no, so the channel of struggle is dual, but the channel of transformation, that one is tribal. So and for everything, if you know anything about circuitry, or if you don't, now I'll just give it to you. Like, if individual is always going to start with the self to bring that mutation, individual is going to bring that mutation to the tribe, which is then going to bring it, okay, like think like collective. I think globally, whenever I'm talking about the collective, I'm talking about every fucking human that's right. And when I'm thinking about tribe, I'm thinking about either your immediate environment, your state, province, wherever the fuck you live, excuse me. Whatever like territory is, right? That's like the tribe, or we could, I guess, even bring it out, like maybe even like the United States of America could be considered a tribe, right? Although the tribe is separate right now.
Mhm.
We're splitting off into individual pentas here. So I find that to all be very interesting. So then when we move on to when Roe is put into place, I want to touch on this one a little bit longer because there's some interesting things. And this is really going to foreshadow when it was overturned. So we had gate 41, the gate of fucking creation. This is the first gate that for the human design new year that, and this is really about, it's a hunger, it's pressure. And it's really moving to feel into our emotions. That's what this gate really helps us do. And so that was transiting the sun. We had 41, which is in the throat, okay, was in the earth, and I lead. And supposedly, potentially, if we have the time, I want to say it makes sense. So this is why I want to say, I'm like, it makes fucking sense. Fire was in transit during this time. And there was a mutation. If you think about what desire is, it's a color, okay? It's what's pushing everything to the surface, trying to reach form so that we can experience, right? And so this is a mutation that's happening. This was a mutation. Women have rights to their body autonomy, right? And what's interesting is the 46 was inside in Pluto. I find that to be really interesting. 5734, also in the design side, tell the future is about the power of the fucking woman and her right to, again, we had all of the root pressure, fear channels
Yeah.
in transit during time. We have the 1858 really telling us some shit to fucking correct, right? The 2838 channel of struggle really saying, we're going to tell you what is worth fighting for. And what is worth fighting for is the woman's right to choose what she wants to do with her body, right? And then we have the 3254, all about transformation, pressuring us to really go through this new transition, right? That we were about to face. The 27 and the 6 mirrors of each other were also both in transit, saying that we need to be more nurturing. And interesting that was also the 59-6 was transit, and the 6 was what in the sun during that time, and saying like, I see that saying that you get to choose who you bond with. And the 6 was in transit during this time. You get to choose who you want to have sex with and the choices that you want to make. Even though we make mistakes, we should not have to face lifelong, I guess, like being scorned or having to face is a punishment to then bring this child into life and then to take care of them. Nobody should have to face that. More importantly, the child should not have to face it. What are your thoughts, Leah? You've been quiet. I've been talking a lot. And
well, you just like read these charts really quickly through, and I haven't done that in a long time, but as I'm following along, all the storylines kind of make sense with the potentials and all of it and everything. I feel like the bonding one is sometimes we don't have that choice. So, when that gets from you too, that's the difficult thing for us to it's around to try and understand how we can come that together, like, because we're trying to do in like this combobulated, differentiated way, and it's together to get through this, get our ability to have our rights back.
yeah, because it's not going to stop here, and it's not going to just stop with us. It's all of, I mean, who was it that said we need to go look at all of rights that basically to place, like control, removing birth control, removing marriage. I mean, it's
Basically
just a matter of time
anything that
before
was
they
written
go
outside of the Constitution, written men.
Yeah, and a lot of this stuff wasn't even Constitution, so there's no way to know what they really said. So here's the other thing, guys. Why can't the Constitution be amended? Why can't how is it that we can say that what was put into place from the beginning is it? That's it.
That's what I say. That's what's most convenient for me. But
So it'll be interesting where we're really headed, because it's a mystery. And we also have during when Roe versus Wade was put into play, gate 60.
yep.
Back in transit. And where was the 60? Fucking
Mm.
We're talking about women's limitations during this time, and basically, no, this isn't right. We're going to make a and give them body autonomy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, potentially cognition of feeling was in play. This was a huge, just like feelings of so much was probably running through the thread of everybody during this time. And what did I say? The 30 was in the earth. I was saying, so, and then desire motivation might have been in transit during this time, also about leadership. So it was like basically saying, okay, we're going to go into this next direction now. We're going into this next direction. We're gonna try to do it right now when they serve the potential chance to make their own choices, right? So then when Roe got overturned on June 24th, 2022, we had gate 15. As we said, gate 15 is going to come back and be a huge player for all. Gate 15, love of humanity, gate of extremes, gate of rhythms, gate of cycles. It's like we were entering into a new cycle now, right? On humanity and the choice to be loving. We also had the 10 in about the love of self and the love of life, which was being taken away from people, right? The 20 connecting to the 10 to like speak, like so many people were like speaking out that day, right? I made a whole live saying, I am now, this is my truth, let me share my truth with you. And 20 was happening in Venus. really feeling the almost like that internal love, that internal connection running from that 10, love of self, love of humanity, and gate 15, really allowing us to look towards the future, which the 23 have been in the notes. So, and again, we have for the we have again gate 18 in place. That's been in place for a lot of them. And gate 38, gate 49, gate 30, 35, 36. Talking about share, feeling your experiences, going through the experience to then what that experience actually was, feeling your emotions. This was a huge emotional moment for everyone, not just women. This we were being forced to feel our feelings that day on multiple levels. The 60 was in told you don't that. And the 30 about feeling our feelings was still in Saturn right now. Really showing us what we need to work on, what we needed to correct. And we are going through a solar plexus mutation now. So I feel like this was a big push was this time.
I think that it's thing that I the most of the bigger events have been the emotionals. I feel like for me, that's what I'm seeing in a lot of them. And like that 43-23 and now is like we're going into a, sharing our opinion or sharing what we've been, and we being or seen as like a genius or a freak. Like I have on myself. So a lot of times when I say things, it's like, does it hit or not? But I feel like it's allowing us to really express emotions, our thoughts, and what we feel about this whole entire thing. And, there's more to the world that's going on right now than just the over and what we're experiencing. But, this is a big thing for women in general, and childbearing people is like, how do we allow ourselves to be heard so that we have the ability to choose when we get it taken from us? It doesn't matter if they have all these other trigger laws in place, because we're still now currently having people, like as we speak, that don't have a chance to make a choice for what they need to do in their life. And they're sacrificing so much in order for, people in Congress to tell you what they want you to do with your body. Like, I think it's ridiculous.
And the biggest thing, like human design has shown, is that we're not supposed to be living in survival anymore.
Right.
And women, families, whoever are going to have to face survival right now and are probably facing. And I've read so many stories of women going in for these abortions and that they were in trigger states that this was happening, and they didn't think all of this was going to place immediately. They were getting calls from their doctors during when this got overturned saying, we're not going to be able to do it now. I'm sorry.
Right. So scary.
I read one article of this one woman that her baby had basically taken her. So she was going in to get the baby obviously taken out. And so she was in one of the states. Her doctor had to call her and say, I'm sorry, we're going to have to wait till full term. So you're going to carry the baby's already dead and birth it full term.
So awful.
So, and she's like, I'm crying because I'm what, and like, maybe fully died at this point, but it was like going through, like, it was having like seizures or something in her. So it was going in that direction, and it needed it, there's no light, something that is alive at that point that's suffering and is not going to be able to survive outside of you, should not have to suffer anymore. So we're not only telling people they have to have babies, but babies that are already dead or dying inside of you, you should still suffer with them.
Yeah.
That was really hard.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know, she shared it, and like, it was something I needed to see it. We gave 15. I needed to see how deeply connected we really all are.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting. So then when you look at, so one more chart to look at with this, not only when Roe got put into place, when it got overturned, but also when they were arguing about it, and when before we and then we found out that it got leaked, that this was happening. But so that time was the date was December 1st, 2021. And so this chart has gate 9, the gate of focus that was in the sun, and then gate 16, which we've been seeing also pop in and out a bunch of these charts, which is all about like we talked about skill. It's also a throat gate. It's also an expression, and this is really enriching life. Which seems interesting, because, but it didn't have the full frequency. So it's about the gate of skills. If it doesn't have the full channel, it can lack confidence in the skill. So that, like, that almost makes me think that there was obviously pushback. We had the 2034 in transit during this time, and really speaking about power of truth. I feel like that the 34, and that was what was in the nodes during that time, was the 2034. I remember when the 2034 just felt like it was in transit for like half the year.
It was like forever.
We did a lot of things during that time.
Yeah.
But it's really fascinating. The 43, not the full channel, the 4323, but only the you were just talking about earlier, Leah, was in transit. So it was this unique insight that hadn't been expressed yet, but the 6124, that was in transit. Interesting that when it was being about, we had the 6124, a design of the thinker, right? So it was first, it started out as a thought. Oh, maybe we will finally fucking overturn this shit. And the 24 is like, I'm still thinking about it. I'm still thinking about it. I'm still thinking. And then the 43 is, okay, I want to express this. And then it was when it got overturned that we then still had the on the design side, but then we had the 4323 on the design side. I mean, on the earth side, on the personality side, saying, now I'm going to share this unique insight.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because it's like we're going backwards to go forwards. It's that we're really having to take a look, because we're going through our Pluto return right now in the US. So we're really having to take a look at the marginalized people, and women are at the top of that. So yeah, that's really interesting. And the last bit that I want to talk about was our first female Black vice president, which happened January 20, 2021. And so guess what was in transit during that time?
Tell us.
Tell us. You don't have
The chart up. No, you really.
you have the chart.
Only one I didn't have.
The 360. And the 60,
That was my first guess. I should have gone with it.
The 60 was in the sun, shining a spotlight that we were still going to have work to do, right?
Yeah.
Just because we made a milestone, right? Stride, we moved through a roadblock, right? This was the first ever that a woman could hold power. But we all had, in the quantum design was the 2838, the channel of struggle.
Hmm.
The 38 was in Venus. And really showing us that we were still going to have to fight, and we were going to have to figure out what was worth fighting for. Showing the unconscious sun, 828, saying there's an intuitive knowing here coming from the spleen, right? Saying that life is not devoid of purpose. There is purpose in fighting. There's purpose in fighting, and we're going to have to do that. So I'm trying to think if there's any last things I want to add. Let me go back real quick and just look at when Roe took place. And I just want to tell you all of the things that are happening, which is very interesting because the 34 is in transit when it was put into place, and then when it was being discussed. And have gate 15 when it was overturned, and the 5 when it was put in place.
Hmm.
Full certainty. Really, I feel like in order for us to understand our right, to understand feelings and emotions, we're going to have to face, especially here in the US, the separateness, that we are separate right now. And we have, we said we have the channel of struggle. We also have the channel of transformation in both. Hold on. That's okay. The channel of struggle when Roe was put into place. So it's saying the fight's not fucked when it was put in place. And then the 38, which is pressuring us to fight, was in place when it was overturned. And the 60 was in place when it was put into place, when it was overturned.
Yeah.
And so that's also interesting. What else?
That's all I'm seeing.
The 30 was in place to feel when it was turned. Also, it was being argued about to be overturned.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. The 14 was in place. It was put into place. And then the 2 was in place when it was overturned. So it's interesting that a lot of like the hanging gates and then the other side was in place.
Yeah.
When
was from one side of it to the other.
Yeah. And so there was an undefined G center when it was put into place. And there is a defined G center when it was overturned. So it makes me wonder
So
how
interesting.
long we're going to have.
Right.
It's like we didn't fully have an identity or a direction. Like we couldn't foresee that.
Yeah.
This really needs to be put in place at a federal level, right? Because if it was put into place at a federal level, then this wouldn't have happened. But to do that, that would take people coming together, right? It would take politics being more loving for humanity instead of pretending.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's really interesting. So I just wonder how long we're going to hold on to this identity that women don't deserve to have body.
Yeah. Hopefully not. As
But
long as it took for us to finally be heard.
Yeah. And what's interesting is there's a defined throat for when it was overturned, but there's an undefined throat for when it was put into place.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot more. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's more definition other than the root. There was fucking root the day that it was put into place.
Yeah.
Also for the future that the power struggle is not over. That's what I feel like when Roe was put into place. It was trying to say the power struggle is not over. You're not. We had one gate in the G center, and it was unconscious. It was gate 46, love of the body. We have embraced enough through that period of when it was put into place till now. It's a huge reason why I feel like it just like almost like it feels like the snap of the fingers. It was gone. Like our identity. This is who you are now. That way, like this is it. Even though I know that we still have a voice, but it feels like we'll be seen as a freak.
Well, I mean, there's ways to do like we feel like we don't have a voice, but we do. Like if we use each other to lean on, and use each other to lift each other up and to accept the other where they're, who they are, not personally going through something that's going to be affected by any of this. And the understanding that people do go through this are going to struggle or going to suffer. Same for when all of the when back in the 60s and 70s when they were going through, just getting out and finding themselves, like they did that for us, for now, for us. And so like if we go out and stand there now, we're doing that for our kids' generation.
And we have one voice connecting to the G Center that says, I am now.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of our experiences, that says, I feel right now. And really speaking from, like, I know that I'm right now feeling pretty shitty about where my life could potentially going. Is probably the voice of a lot of women right now.
Yeah.
The love of self was also founded in the earth. So we kind of wanted to just shed a little light. Obviously that we talked about a lot of charts. I hope you guys followed. Leah's like, I was trying to follow and you were talking way too fast. This is what happens when I do charts. I just start open head, just start streaming, downloading the information. It takes me literally 5 seconds and I'm like, okay, I see everything happening here. But let me see. Was it also single definition for both of them? Yes. Which are both single definition. That's interesting.
I'm going to have to listen to this all over because even though I heard you say it all the first time, I mean, I have to, right? Edit and everything, but once you hear it again or you hear it in a different way, it makes more sense.
Yeah. I think this is probably an episode that you're going to listen to twice. You're going to
share it with a that you might want, that might need to hear, just some knowledge, I guess, and some history or, a different perspective, how things have played out.
And the motivation that was potentially in transit, this will be the last thing I'm going to say, potentially, because we exact time of everything that was potentially in transit when this got overturned was fear. Which fear is about security. It wants to have a foundation to stand on. It's a color 1, line 1. Right? So, and it's also a little ironic that we're leaving fear, we're leaving the spleen, which is where fear is held, and we're mutating towards the solar plexus. So, noodle on that. Tell us what you think. We try to keep it as easy to understand as possible. I know I jumped around a lot. I'm sure that somebody got something out of this. So if you did enjoy this, let us know. We love hearing from you. Again, like Leah said, share it with a friend, share it with a stranger, post it on somewhere of someone else that you just anybody find this, because there is still hope. The underlying, Leah's like, I'm not supposed to hope anything. The underlying theme, hope, is like spiritual essence of possibility, which, if this chart is correct, was also in transit during this time. Because I did feel when this was happening, I was like, there is a possibility that this isn't permanent, and nothing is permanent. That's the other thing that we have to realize, and that this is just a way for you to realize that you are more free in a sense than what the government is trying to tell you are. Some, it's going to be harder, and for those people, I want to hug you right now. If you've experienced any of these struggles, or if you're going to experience any of these, because nobody should have to face a consequence a lifetime if that's not what they want to do. And nobody should be able to tell you what you should do. We're moving into the direction of the individual. And the right angle cross of planning is trying so hard to hold on for dear life, as the sleeping phoenix is saying, listen, I'm a unique bitch. You can like me or hate me, but respect that I am a living being. And that's what gate 15 and I think gate 10 was really trying to push us to realize on the day when it got over. And so that's the hope that I have, is that the possibility that this is going to move us into something greater than we even thought. But it's I have to, that's not going away. So if you want to share your experience with us, we're here. And I see you guys on that.
Thanks for reading, Krystle.
Bye.
Bye. For listening to this episode. Krystle and I are really here as defined hearts to provide value to you with our unique insights. If you have found any of this episode valuable to you, we ask with a friend, tag us with a highlight on Instagram, and write us a review so we. Human design and astrology are tools to guide us toward our transformation. You are a unique and beautiful being, and we encourage you to let that light inside of you shine bright. See you in the next episode, friends.